Hello friends. On 1st February, the Union Minister for Finance and Corporate Affairs presented the Union Budget 2023-24 in the Parliament. A day prior to it, the Economic Survey was released. Both these documents hold immense significance not only for the country but especially for UPSC aspirants. We will be studying them in details in subsequent videos. In this video, we will be covering the basics of government budgeting and the terminologies used in economic survey and budget documents. Let's get started. It is an annual document of the Ministry of Finance and Corporate Affairs which is presented in the Parliament a day prior to the presentation of budget. It is prepared by the Economic Division of the Department of Economic Affairs under the guidance of the Chief Economic Advisor. It reviews the developments in Indian economy over the past fiscal year and presents an outlook for the upcoming fiscal year. The first economic survey in India was presented in the year 1950-51. Until 1964, it was a part of budget document and used to be presented along with the union budget. Just as we have it at our household level, the government too receives its income from some sources known as receipts. It also has plans for spendings or expenditure. Both these are collectively called as budgeting. The government budgeting basically comprises of receipts received by the government and expenditures made by the government. The receipts are again classified into two broad classes: capital receipts and revenue receipts. In capital receipts, we have recovery of loans which were given by the government, disinvestment in public sector undertakings, borrowings and provident funds. Revenue receipts are further subclassified as tax and non-tax. In tax, we have direct taxes such as the income tax and the indirect taxes such as the goods and service tax or GST. In non-tax revenue receipts, we have the interest received by the government, the profits and dividends earned by the government, and the external grants received by the government. For example, the Government of India receives external grants from international institutions and organizations such as the UNICEF. On the expenditure side, again the expenditure are classified into two broad categories: capital expenditure or CAPEX and the revenue expenditure. In capital expenditure, the government spends the money for acquiring fixed and intangible assets. Fixed assets such as land, intangible assets such as education and healthcare of citizens. Upgrading existing assets such as repairing of roads, railways, etc. Repairing existing assets and repayment of loans. In revenue expenditure, we again have two subcategories such as planned and unplanned. In planned revenue expenditure, we have expenditure made on welfare schemes. For example, Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Yojana or Janani Suraksha Yojana, and the central assistance given by the union government to the states. In unplanned revenue expenditure, we have interest payments of the central government, okay, and subsidies which are given to the industries or citizens, and salaries and pensions of government employees. Deficits, as the name suggests, stands for deficiency or shortfall of something. Revenue deficit is the difference between the total revenue expenditure and total revenue receipts of the government. Fiscal deficit is a broader term. It is the difference between the total expenditure of the government and the total receipts received by the government, excluding the receipts received in the form of borrowings. In fiscal deficit, though we have deducted borrowings from the receipt part, but the expenditure part of the government involves interest payments. Therefore, we have coined a new term, that is a primary deficit. While calculating the primary deficit, we do not consider the interest payment part in expenditure. Thus, the primary deficit is fiscal deficit minus interest payments. Gross domestic product or GDP is the total monetary value of all goods and services produced within a country's border in a given time period. Thus, we can see that it has a geographical context. For example, if an Indian resident has an industry or a firm abroad, then the profits obtained by him from such firms will not be considered in the calculation of GDP. However, if the foreign nationals have their industry or firms in India, then the value of the products or services produced by such industries or firms will be considered during the calculation of GDP. GDP is calculated by three methods: production, income, and expenditure methods. To overcome the narrow geographical framework of the GDP, a new term, that is Gross National Product or GNP, has been framed. It measures the total monetary value of all goods and services produced through the means of production owned by a country's residents. If we deduct the depreciation from GDP, then we get net domestic product or the NDP. Depreciation is simply the decline in value of commodities. For example, if a person owing a dairy buys a machine for say 1 lakh rupees, the next year its value will not remain the same. For obvious reason, wear and tear cost to it. So the next year that dairy owner, if he sells that machine, may get a lesser amount, for example say 90,000. Now this 10,000 which is less is known as depreciation. Similarly, if we deduct depreciation from GNP, then we get net national product or the NNP. Gross value added or GVA is the measure of contribution of growth made by an individual, producer, industry or sector. It is calculated as value of output minus value of intermediate consumption. For example, suppose there is a manufacturing unit or a factory that manufactures a ball pen, a simple ball pen. Now the cost involved in manufacturing this ball pen is, let's say, rupees 3. Now after manufacturing this ball pen, it gives it to some another company for branding, let's say Cello. Okay, now this company fixes sticker on the pen and puts its name and everything to give it a brand. Now the cost involved in this is, let's say, 1 rupee per pen. After this, the branding company spends some money on advertisement. Let's say rupees 1 per pen is spent on advertisement. After that, it is available in the market for selling at the retail level. and suppose it is sold at a price of rupees 10 per pen. Now the value of output here is rupees 10, whereas the value of intermediate consumption is 3 plus 1 plus 1, that is rupees 5. Hence, the GVA or gross value added per pen in this example will be 10 minus 5, that is rupees 5. It was adopted in India in the year 2015 to bring the national accounting in conformity with the United Nations System of National Accounts (SNA), which was adopted by the UN in 2008. While going through the economic survey and the budget documents, you will frequently come across the terms nominal and real. For example, nominal GDP or nominal GDP growth rate, real GDP growth rate. What are these terms? Basically, when we say nominal, the calculations are made at the current prices. For example, nominal GDP, that is the GDP at the current prices. When we use the term real, inflation factors in. For example, when we say real GDP growth rate, that is the GDP growth rate calculated while considering the inflation. Let's say the nominal GDP growth rate is 10%. That is the GDP growth rate at current prices. However, there has to be some inflation. For example, if the inflation is plus 4%, then the real GDP growth rate will be 10% minus 4%, that is 6%. Inflation in simple terms is the changes in prices of commodities or services. Two major indices are used for the calculation of inflation in India. The first is the Wholesale Price Index or WPI. It reflects the changes in the prices of goods at wholesale level. It does not consider the prices of services. It is measured and published by the Office of Economic Advisor under Ministry of Commerce and Industry. The base year for WPI calculation is 2011-12. The second index used for the calculation of inflation is the Consumer Price Index or CPI. It reflects the changes in the prices of goods and services at the household level. Different sub-indices exist for CPI, such as CPI Industrial Worker, CPI Agriculture Laborer, CPI Rural Laborer. These are measured by Labor Bureau of the Ministry of Labor and Employment. CPI Urban Non-Manual Employees is measured by Central Statistics Office or CSO. CPI is also measured region-wise. For example, CPI Urban, CPI Rural and CPI combined. These are measured by National Statistics Office under the Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation. The base year for the calculation of CPI is also 2011-12, except for CPI Industrial Worker, for which it is 2016. Budget estimate is the funds allocated to different ministries, departments or government schemes when the budget is presented. Revised estimate reflects the changes in allocations to ministries, departments and schemes midway during the fiscal year. Actuals represent the actual amount spent by the ministries, department or on government schemes. It is derived after auditing receipts. Friends, in the subsequent videos, we will be covering the economic survey chapter wise. Subscribe to the channel to stay updated and get notifications about those videos. Thank you.